Fossils,
Fossils,
fossils and
fossils and
fiction.
fiction. Dr. Jake Kotevski, welcome again to Fossils and Fiction.
I think you mean
Congratulations on
welcome.
the PhD.
Thank you again for having me. It's nice to have the opportunity to be called doctor. I'll take it.
Well deserved from what I hear. And we'll have you back to talk about research at a later date. But I really wanted to take the opportunity in the wake of losing Sam Neill a couple of weeks ago, just to chat about Sam and Alan Grant and Jurassic Park. You're one of the biggest Jurassic Park fans I know, which is saying something because I know a lot of Jurassic Park fans all around the world. Jake, what does it mean to you?
Look, I mean, in the simplest of terms, it shaped my life. My parents divorced young, and it was like the comfort movie. I've watched it forever. I went through high school. I was bullied. One of the things was, you like dinosaurs. How can you like dinosaurs? I still went back to Jurassic Park, and I still went back to Sam Neill. As I was going through high school and deciding, okay, maybe paleo is not a viable career path, I switched to study genetics, the other science in Jurassic Park. And I did a complete undergrad in genetics, which I didn't love in the end. And around 2017 or so, whatever, I read the book once a year. I watch the movie a million times, but I read the book once a year. I put down the book and I just searched a paleontologist in Victoria. Found Jeff Stillwell at Monash University. So Associate Professor Jeff Stillwell at Monash University. Wrote to him. He got me in with like a program, and I did a second undergrad at Monash, and inevitably the honors and the PhD, and here we are as Dr. Jake, and it's all because of Dr. Grant. I mean, every single professional career path choice I've taken has something to do with Jurassic Park.
I'm kind of the same, right? Even though I ended up in a different academic field, I saw this guy who wears knowledge so well, who is a genuinely good person in his world. That's Grant, but also Sam Neill is just such a good person in our world, who wears his expertise just really well, and carries himself in the world in a way I think we could all aspire to. A couple of years ago, I did some study on space studies, a totally different field altogether. And at the end, I was asked to write a reflection, and I kind of said, well, I always wanted to be one of two things. It was either a paleontologist or an astronaut, and obviously that's the dream, but that comes from Grant.
I think it's really hard to watch Jurassic Park as somebody who loves paleontology and not feel tremendously moved by some of the scenes. Like, for me, it's always the scene they do move in herds. Like, that one gets me every single freaking time because it's like, here's this thing that you're studying that involves so much creativity and imagination on your part to recreate. And to have any of that information confirmed by a living animal would be, I mean, I'm sure, Jake, you could speak to this better than I could. Theropods are complicated animals that would have had, interesting behaviors
Well, it's like the foreshadowing. I mean, he knows a lot about raptors, for animals that have been dead for millions and millions of years, like the whole hunting pattern and all that. But it works in the movie. He has these theories about what he thinks Velociraptor does, and he has it valid. It's terrifying in the context of the movie. It's validated. He sees it in life, and it's just like, you can imagine yourself. Like, if I was there, I'd be equally terrified. But if I got out of it, it was like, I was right. We knew this, and it feels good to be validated. I'm pretty happy I'm alive, but it also feels pretty good to be validated.
There's another line in the film where Ian says the same thing, right? He says, boy, do I hate to be right all the time when he's talking about his theories.
Absolutely.
His theories being validated.
And that's the difference between them. I mean, they work very well because Grant's like he's you. You're just an everyday guy who happens to be a paleontologist thrust into this situation. Malcolm, same. He's a mathematician. I mean, he's a bit more of a up himself, but it works.
They humanize him through the connection he has to children, not just as like a paleontologist with facts that the kids care about, but as a human being. And I think that's something that a lot of paleo media really, and scientist media in general, fails to do. Like, normally we're the bad guys if we're anything, and we're not given that kind of depth. And he plays it with such warmth, which is really, really nice to see.
Grant starts off as a person who doesn't want kids, doesn't want much to do with them. He scares the boy on the dig with the raptor talk. Ellie says if you wanted to scare the kid, you could just pull a gun on him, right? And then he's really hesitant to get involved with Lex and Tim, but the moment he needs to be a father figure for them, to guide them through Jurassic Park, as John Hammond says. He does it. He steps up, and by the end, they fall asleep on his lap in the helicopter. He really he really moves into that role again, I think in an aspirational way.
Definitely. And like, I read one of the myriad articles about Jurassic Park and Sam Neill after his death. And one that stuck with me is like, Dr. Grant is your first scientist on a screen who's not so intelligent that he can't function with other humans, or he's not a mad genius, or he's not like action hero Indiana Jones. Like, he's just your everyday guy who happens to do what he loves. And you're going through the motions with you resonate more with that than say, I guess if you look at Jurassic World and Owen Grady, Chris Pratt's character, it's like he's the action hero. He's G.I. Joe. It's you don't resonate with that as much. And I think it meant a lot to so many people.
Right. Or even looking to some of the other characters that Neill plays. I mean, I think the other big movie that I remember from him was Event Horizon, where he plays this evil scientist man who's just trapping people in space. And it's not Neill's fault. I think he plays the character with as much warmth and depth as he can, really. But the script was not cutting him a lot of favors there. And it is much more a two-dimensional portrayal.
That said, though, there's this story that's come out in the last couple of weeks. It's always been known for people who followed Event Horizon, but he asked for the Australian flag to be altered
Yes.
to include the Indigenous flag, the Australian Aboriginal flag, in the corner rather than the Union Jack. And that was Sam, right? It was just putting his politics just in a quiet way, but in a way that foregrounds values, foregrounds change, foregrounds that perspective, and just puts it out there, in a sort of commanding but understated way. And Sam did that in New Zealand with his campaigns against the mines in the Otago region. He saw himself as part of or a caretaker of the landscape and didn't want to see the mines come in and impact it negatively. So yeah, he's a rare case of somebody who, after their passing, there's just no one has anything bad to say. No one at all has anything bad to say about Sam Neill.
There's a lot of controversy around the Michael Crichton book. Of course, now that Crichton has kind of been outed as like a anti-science, climate change denial sort of person. But Jake, I know you know the book very well, and I'm wondering how much did Sam Neill's portrayal of the character of Alan Grant change the character when he brought it to screen?
It's one of those things where you can kind of separate him from his beliefs, because regardless of what he thought, you could see he put in the effort to understand the science. It's in a lot of his books. Prey with all the nanotechnology, Congo with gorillas, Jurassic Park with dinosaurs, and genetic technology. Like, he put in the effort to try and understand it and put it to page. The movie, I love it for what it is. I know there's a lot of arguments people have of you should adapt the book. It would have that horror element. The movie needed to be what it is because it's that sense of wonder and joy, and it brought a lot of people in. If it was the horror movie, it wouldn't. Sam Neill as Dr. Grant, there's that small difference of, in the book, he already likes kids. In the movie, he learns to like kids. But it's still him. It's still the same, just the rugged guy who likes to work out in the field. He likes to do field paleo. He loves this stuff. He loves dinosaurs. It's the best portrayal you could get. Like, I could not see anyone else playing Dr. Grant. And like, I read the book and Crichton describes him as, 40s, flannel shirt, big bushy beard. And I still just see Sam Neill when I'm reading the book. Like, that's who I'm envisioning in that book. So it's like Viggo Mortensen and Aragorn. You don't see anyone else as that character.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like as well, I think there's like, in the book, the character is almost too similar to the kind of paleontologist that Crichton interviewed. Like, when I think of book Alan Grant, I'm thinking of Robert Backer with just the label kind of chiseled off. But I feel like Sam Neill kind of captures the essence of what a lot of men in the field that are good men are like. When I think about the good paleontologists like yourself, some of the other people in our lab, it's like, that's the kind of guy that I'm imagining. Just like, he loves what he does and he's out there. He's not doing anything offensive or crappy. He's just here because he loves a dinosaur and he wants to do the best job he can.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that's what draws so many people to it. I know it's what drew me to it. It's like it's amazing how in a 2-hour movie you can evoke so much of a personality of a fictional character. And it's probably, it's Sam Neill coming through it. And it's probably his values coming through. But it's like that's someone I could be and someone I aspire to be.
For me, Jake, and maybe you might agree with this as well. Absolutely, Grant connected with so many people. I mean, we all know, Adele, who who I know sees Alan Grant as a kind of personal hero as well, and loves to cosplay as him while in the field. Adele Pentland, but I think for men, he embodied this really kind of positive version of masculinity as well. He was very masculine, but not in a domineering way, not in an aggressive way, still in a very kind of caring way, and again in a way that foregrounded his care and concern for those around him. This is both Sam and Alan Grant, I guess, to me, and that's something that I grew up adoring everything he did because of that as well.
Yeah. And it's like, this is a man who cries when he sees the first living dinosaur, as if you wouldn't. And the fact that you're masculine enough to be overwhelmed by that emotion and emote like that, it's such a positive thing. I mean, you put it perfectly. Like it's something that a lot of people needed and enjoyed seeing, and it's definitely shaped them.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see him chasing after the dinosaurs shirtless with his, like, dehydrated Chris Pratt six-pack, shooting at the animals. He takes the time to, like, educate the children. What's the scene with I'm gonna get the name of them wrong, the ones that are just running around and then the T-Rex chases them over the log.
Yeah, Gala, Gala, Gallimimus.
He just treats them like they're a creature that we should stop and admire. There's never any sense he's not Robert Muldoon, Muldoon's approach is painted a different way.
Yeah, definitely.
There was a real evolution of Grant across the franchise. Like Jurassic Park is one thing, but he does also pop up then in a couple of the later movies. He's in Jurassic Park 3, and then he turns up in Dominion where it's almost a different character in Dominion, but it's someone who wants to go back to his roots, back to digging in the rocks, digging in the dirt for fossils and promoting the real science. And at the start of Jurassic Park 3, he is talking about how the dinosaurs are monsters, that they were created as monsters. He no longer sees them as animals. He's not in awe of them like he was early on. But then I think even through the course of that movie, he probably comes to see their raw power again, face to face with the Spino and others. What do you think about his evolution across the series, Jake?
Like, it really depends on the movie too. So Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3 sort of have this vibe of, that 90s, early 2000s adventure, straw roof huts and Jeep Explorers and such. And then, I don't know, Jurassic World takes a different shift to me. I don't particularly love the Jurassic Worlds. I thought I enjoyed the first, but in the context of the rest of them, they just, I don't know. The best way I can put this is they feel corporate. You go from straw, like thatch roof huts and safari lodges to grey concrete and these weird glass balls that everyone drives around in. It just takes a completely different shift. And the biggest shift that I dislike is the hybrid stuff, because I don't believe that people are bored of the dinosaur zoo when I still like the animal zoo. And I've been going to the animal zoo for 30 years. But B, they switch. And I think it starts in Jurassic Park 3 with Spinosaurus versus T-Rex, but they switch from these are animals living and breathing in an ecosystem to who wins in a fight. And that's really what the movie is. Jurassic World is Indominus Rex wins all the fights until T-Rex and Velociraptor win the fight. And then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is Indoraptor loses the fight to Velociraptor. And they just feel like, it just feels like kaiju movies, but they're small kaiju. Whereas Jurassic Park 1, 2,
Yeah.
and 3 had that Jurassic Park vibe. And I feel like Alan Grant's character, the way he's written, suits the Jurassic Park vibe more than it does the Dominion vibe more. And it's possibly that they brought Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum back because it's like the nostalgia bait. I fell for it. I loved it. I loved seeing them on the screen. I didn't love the movie overall, but it was great to see Dr. Grant on screen again. It didn't feel the same. And it's probably because he has changed. I mean, evidently, everyone's going to change over 30 years. But it didn't feel the same to me. Sam Neill did his best as he could. I still see it. It's Dr. Grant, but I don't know. I kind of blocked the Jurassic World movies out, and I think of Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3. That's the series for me. But I mean, yeah, Jurassic Park 3 Grant is Jurassic Park 1 Grant, and he has a different perspective because he's gone through a traumatic event and he's been thrown back into it against his will, as anyone would. Like, I feel like he's very reasonable in his different points of view and what he thinks. And yeah, you're always going to fall back on the real science.
Yeah, he's like, I still care about these animals, but they did give me PTSD, so no thank you to more of these animals.
There in Dominion, there is a bit of he's kind of out of place in that world now, though. I think and that's even though it's just about coffee, not about dinosaurs. But he's kind of feels out of touch with the modern world at that point. And I still kind of love that about him, about the way he plays that character. That like, what has the world become? What are we dealing with here? Because this is not real life anymore.
Yeah, and I think that kind of draws back to the book as well. I mean, I forget the line, but Grant already is feeling like an outsider because he's the guy who wants to be in the field all the time. And he calls, what does he call? Like teacup paleontologists or something, like the ones who just want to sit in the lab and run data and don't want to go actually get their hands dirty. I love every aspect of paleo. Like, I love the field. I love the writing. I like sitting at a desk. I like running data. Like, I want to do everything. I assume that's what Grant does. But yeah, you can feel in the book he's kind of struggling to keep up with modern paleo. And Dominion sort of reflects that because it wasn't something in the original movie. So it suits. And it is. It's kind of like a man out of time.
So, my question to both of you is, as mega fans, where would you have taken the franchise while Sam was still alive instead of where Jurassic World took it? I know we've been talking for 20 minutes and we can't talk for an hour, but I would love to hear what you guys think would have actually been a good place to take it to. What would you have Sam Neill doing?
I think you don't just want to see the same thing again and again, but where Sam is best, where Alan Grant is best, is in using his knowledge to protect and guide. And that's what we see. That's what we really love in Jurassic Park 1. He does that to a lesser extent in Jurassic Park 3, I think, because there's a lot of other factors there, but he still does it. But I think particularly when he's interacting with the children characters, that's when he's best, and even in Jurassic World, had it been him guiding Zach and Gray, is that their names, through the park, rather than they were kind of making their own way with Owen in pursuit, I think that would have been a different movie. And with the most recent movie, Rebirth, I mean, could you imagine Alan Grant if he'd been with the Delgado family, guiding them down the river on the T-Rex raft? And that's a scene straight out of the Jurassic Park book, but geez, it would have been something different with Grant there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in recent years, I've realized that maybe it's because that's what most content seems to be nowadays. I'm sick of the same thing. Like, I want an original idea. Like, to me, I would prefer Jurassic Park 1 to 3, and then we leave it. And that's done. That's the franchise. Do your video game spin-offs. I don't know, have him, like, I think he voiced Dr. Grant in Operation Genesis, the park builder, which I loved as a kid too. Pretty sure Sam Neill voiced, like, he had little minor voice bits, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Do the little spin-offs like that if you need to have Alan Grant. But I don't think we needed more. Jurassic World was fun, and then it's become this whole thing, and it just keeps going. And I feel like that kid when Krusty's beating up the guy stealing the Krusty burgers. Like, just he's already dead. Just
Stop, he's already dead?
Just stop. And I'm sure there's people who feel differently, but I'm happy with what there is with Jurassic Park 1 to 3, and I feel like we got enough of Dr. Grant, and there's not much more you can get. He went to the dinosaur island twice. You don't need any more reasons to go to the dinosaur island. Stop going to the dinosaur island. Leave it be. If though I had to choose, and maybe we wouldn't have Sam Neill in it, but if you're going to do anything with Jurassic Park, adapt the book, adapt it as a TV series, give it the proper thriller horror treatment it deserves. That's a completely different story, though. That would be that's just out of pure interest. Like, I wouldn't mind to see what they did, but preferably no more reboots, no more franchise. Just do something new. Do a different dinosaur movie. Have Sam Neill in it. That'd be great.
I always thought there was room for a weekly procedural centered around the ACU, the Animal Containment Unit in Jurassic World, because that park was open for a long time before the movie happened. I think we could have had some really cool scenes that don't really impact much. They don't need to necessarily attack guests or whatever, but you lose a worker here and there when such and such breaks out, or you get a Brachiosaurus stampede and the ACU deals with that in half an hour and then shuts down and resets and we come back next week. I think that would have been there's nice scope there for Jurassic World procedural drama, I think.
Yeah. Like I guess when I've thought about like what you could do with it now, it's like the thing that made Jurassic Park so cool was that it reflected this like major renaissance that was just beginning in paleontology. It was, Crichton asking questions about chaos, but it was also, here's all this amazing new stuff we've learned. And it's not as if that renaissance ever really stopped. Like Jake is a huge part of the ongoing dinosaur renaissance here in Australia. And I guess if I wanted more dinosaur things, I would want it to be like that. I don't know what that would look like. I think it would just look like Prehistoric Planet. I think I just want more Prehistoric Planet.
We've got
Yeah.
the end of Oak Street coming in a month or two, so that'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad there's new stuff coming. And yeah, I think I've shifted away from the sci-fi what if they came back to life. Now, maybe even because I'm an actual paleontologist now, but I want to see the reconstructions. I want to see the most up-to-date science, because that's what Jurassic Park was in the 90s, That was the most up-to-date reconstruction of these animals. And then that followed on naturally to
It
Walking
was
with Dinosaurs.
it's like the line between the fossils and fiction was so much blurrier, and now we do understand them. We do understand them as real animals, and that's, like, so much cooler.
The natural world's awesome, and I want to know more about the natural world. Sci-fi is fun. Sci-fi can be its own thing. Yeah. Dinosaurs now for me is all right, we have this awesome technology. We can reconstruct them the best way. We have so many paleo artists, so many paleontologists, so many people actually caring about this stuff who are inspired by Jurassic Park. Let's get a new interpretation. Let's get this really new content. And yeah, things like Prehistoric Planet and Walking with Dinosaurs. I want more of that. And there's probably only so much you can do, but do an Australian one. We haven't seen Australian like Walking with Dinosaurs, like anything on an Australian dinosaur proper since Walking with Dinosaurs, and that's so out of date because we have learnt so much more. I'll do it if someone gives me money and teaches me how to direct, animate, and reconstruct completely. Like, give me all the training, and then I'll go do it. But there's scope. There's things to be done.
And I'll make my own Jurassic Park.
Yes, we've got a Hammond in training right here.
Well, and I mean, I think that's another really good point is, like, Colossal had all of these promises about bringing things back, and I think it's really worth pointing out that Sam Neill never once gave them money or press or attention as far as I know. This was the face of paleontology for a generation saying, yeah, but not like that. Not like those losers.
And some of it is interesting, and this is pre-colossal, like people wanting to clone a mammoth. Where are you going to put a mammoth? What are you going to do with a mammoth? We make one because we
Right?
can make, and then is it truly a mammoth? And it brings up the same question as Jurassic Park. Are these dinosaurs or are they genetically engineered theme park monsters? We're never going to know because it's dead. And I always put these, like the two opening quotes from the book of Jurassic Park. There's this really big one from Linnaeus about reptiles, but then there's one from Edwin Irwin Chargaff or something. I don't know how accurate the quote is, but you cannot recall a new form of life. We don't know. They're dead. They're dead long before we showed up. So how do we know that this is an accurate representation of a living, breathing dinosaur or a mammoth or whatever animal that's gone extinct is being cloned? Maybe it's different for things that we've experienced as humanity, but I don't know. I think we need to appreciate what was to appreciate what is now even more. And I'd love to see a dinosaur, but I'm not going to, and that's okay. To be fair, I can look out the window and see a dinosaur flying around in the sky, and that's good enough.
Sam Neill playing Grant, that's a moment that he really shone right in Jurassic Park. Hammond is getting hammered from every direction about what he's done and his decisions. And he kind of looks at Grant and expects Grant to be, yeah, no, it's great. What you've done here is fantastic. And Grant turns around and says, dinosaurs and humans separated by 65 million years. How could you possibly know what's going to happen? And that's the heart of the book, right? Is why would we do something like this when we can't know the outcome?
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a real moment for him to shape the narrative and how it shakes out. Hey, before we started recording, Jake, you were talking about how once a year you sit down and watch Jurassic Park, and your lovely wife limits you to 3 quotes. What are your favorite 3?
I mean, the whole movie's a favorite quote, but I can never pass up "We have a T-Rex." And you got to say it like how many? We have a T-Rex.
Yeah, let's stick with that one. That is one of my favorites. Like, honestly, and it's a line that I say every time, because Hammond says, oh, we've clocked the T-Rex at 35 miles an hour or whatever it is, and Grant says, what did you say? He says, we have a T-Rex. He's so excited.
Just the delivery is just perfect. Like, he's been hanging every moment since they got on the helicopter to say we have a T-Rex. Like, that's all that's running through his mind. So that I always pick the raptor monologue in the Badlands, because that is the longest one. That's the most I can get in a row. That's just one. And then it really varies, it depends on the mood. Sometimes it's one big pile of shit. Sometimes it's Mr. Hammond, after careful consideration, have decided not to endorse your park. Sometimes it's, it really depends. Hold on to your butts is always a personal favorite. They should all be destroyed. I mean, if I could pick, I'd pick the whole movie, but I have to be really selective. But inevitably, I always pick We Have a T-Rex, and then it just goes on vibes from there.
So before I give you mine, I just wanted to say, like, I have personally experienced watching Jurassic Park with Jake, and it was a 10 out of 10 experience. I can recommend it to any listeners if you have the opportunity. It was a great time. It was not obnoxious. This is a wholehearted endorsement. And I also want to point out that at Jake's wedding, Jurassic Park also featured, I have here the souvenir, Victoria Bitter with his wife and himself photoshopped in cosplay. The theme song was involved at one point. It was a beautiful ceremony.
Yeah, we were announced as Mr. and Mrs. Kotevski, and we had the theme play, and I wanted to get dropped off in one of the Jeep Explorers. I wanted to find some guy who owned one and drop me off, and I was like, nah, that's kind of pushing it. I tried to convince her to turn the wreath and the arch and all that into the gates, but no, that was aiming too high. And look, fair enough, I aimed high so I could get. Well, can we walk out to the theme? Yes. All right. Good. I'll take the win.
You were a good husband. You let her have a lot of Taylor Swift.
To be fair, I like Taylor Swift now. So. Marriage is balance, isn't it? You give and you take.
Well, Ange is a trooper, and I hope that she's enjoyed this interview as well. My quotes would be, obviously, they do move in herds. That's my favorite all-time line. I love the clever girl. That's always been a favorite. I guess if I had to pick a third one.
Right before he gets his throat ripped out.
As he kind of earned. He kind of, maybe don't hunt them. Oh, gosh. And then Must Go Faster. Must Go Faster is another favorite. That's such a good one. But yeah, that's me.
Actually, now you've reminded me too. I'm always partial to when they're getting chased by the T-Rex and Ellie's just going, shit! So good. So good. I would totally do the same.
I mean, who wouldn't? Right? Who wouldn't? I have to say, one of the most impactful lines in the film for me is, people always talk about women inherit the earth, but I like the later line from Ellie where she just says, Hammond again is just being Hammond, and he's actually like, despite being this jovial, friendly old guy, he's actually got this creepiness underneath the character that comes from the book. Like, it fully comes from the book character who is a real creep. But he says to Ellie, I really should be going because and he's going to say man, and she just turns around and says, look, we can discuss sexism in survival situations when I get back. She
Right.
just completely shuts him down in that moment, and for me, that's even more impactful than the earlier line about women inherit the earth because she just is like right on the money and shuts Hammond down when he is being a creep.
Yeah, it's just
Uh,
it's so well done. Like every character in that movie is so well done, and you want the Ally and the Alan. Like that's the perfect duo that you want there, and they're just the everyday people. And yeah, it's a great thing. You don't doesn't matter whether she's male or female or anything else that she identifies as. Like she's the one stepping up. Who cares that it's a woman stepping up? Someone's stepping up,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
mean,
what I
when it
really
comes time
like.
to put hands in that shit pile, she's there. She's ready to go. Like, she's gonna do it.
Yeah,
Right. There's no way that, it's not just token by any means that she says those things. It's the character is built from the ground up to be just entirely as capable as any of the male characters. And that's something we actually don't see in action films a lot. But Jake, you wanted to not talk about science fiction, but science fiction does that really well, whereas action films don't. Science fiction and horror films tend to have really strong female characters where other genres of film tend not to. So yeah, that's where Jurassic Park for me has some in common with science fiction.
yeah. And I mean, look, as a bloke, like that was less impactful to me in general. Like it's still a good positive female role model, but it was less impactful to me on a whole. Whereas I can imagine for so many girls growing up watching it, how much it would have meant to see like she's also the hero and she's also stepping up. It's like it's just got so much impact, and the fact that you're just seeing how many people are being brought together by it's so weird to grieve an actor, but you're seeing how many people are being brought together by it.
Yeah, well, I
Right.
think Laura Dern's tributes to Sam and Jeff Goldblum's tributes to Sam and Joe Mazzello's tributes to Sam and Spielberg, everybody that worked with him as Alan Grant were devastated, and yeah,
And in
so
much the
was I.
same way that, they kind of mourned. I mean, we haven't mentioned some of the other, like, people that made we are now mentioning some of the other people that made Jurassic Park what it was, but when Stan Winston passed, Stan Winston, the guy who did the special practical effects for not only Jurassic Park, but so many movies in the 90s,
The
when
dinosaur
he
supervisor.
Yeah, Dinosaur Supervisor, he was a big part of the magic as well, and I've looked back to see if there were cast tributes to him, and it does seem like, and there wasn't as much social media then, so we don't really know, but it seems like he had that same beloved status, and I think it's so rare that you see a full production team that just comes together and it's wholesome. Nobody, I don't know, turns out to secretly be awful. It's such a rare thing to see, and for 3 movies as well, in varying levels of quality.
And then beyond
There
that,
is
like
one person who was awful, but we won't mention him.
But yeah, well, what were you gonna say, Jake?
I was going to say, it's just been great seeing beyond the Jurassic franchise. Like, there's so much stuff I've watched Sam Neill in, like Peaky Blinders or The 12, or there's so much. I see him in anything, and I'm like, that's Alan, that's Dr. Grant. But just like people he's acted with in all of these other franchises, just saying the same stuff, and it's just so nice. Like, it's a terrible thing to have all these people brought together, but just consistently, not a single bad thing has been said. Just love and joy and sadness. Yeah, joy that you spent time with him, and sadness that he's gone before you expected it.
Although I'm someone who, has a lot to do with film and television and is kind of in fandoms in a lot of ways, I've never really bothered about, trying to meet actors or whatever, but Sam's death, he just felt like someone you know. He felt like your uncle or your dad. Like he just felt like this guy that you could sit down and have a chat with. And I don't know. I just always thought, I'm gonna, run into Sam somewhere at like some event or something. And yeah, he's just, I never met him, but I'm gonna miss him so much.
Think, we could think about it in terms of extinction. We have so many animals on our planet that are rapidly facing extinction crises. And as people who study the extinct, who study the dead, I feel a lot of reverence anytime I get an opportunity to meet an animal that's maybe not going to be here forever. And I just feel that sense of like wonder and luck that I got to share that time and that space with something that was that cool. And I don't mean to compare Sam to like a cool bug or a duck or something, but I think that he was a magnificent person from what we know about him, and I think that it's reasonable to, like, look back fondly that we did get to share some time of our lives on this planet with him, and that he was making these incredible movies while we were alive to enjoy them, and while he was here.
Look, I mean, unashamedly, I broke down. Like, I wholly did not expect for a celebrity death to affect me so much. And on reflection, it's like, well, yeah, he was. It's like a dad or an uncle or something. Like, I watched that movie so much. I watched that movie through so many crap times and so many good times. I still watch it so frequently. I take every opportunity I can. I watch it once with my wife a year because she needs to break up the movies. But I could sit down and watch it at any time. And it's the same performance, and you know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what he's going to say. You know exactly, and it's like that. It's like a family member, and so it was just such a strange feeling to like openly grieve someone I never and probably never would have met, and now I will never get the opportunity to thank him for shaping the trajectory of my life. It's so odd, but as time's gone on, and I've seen so many more outpourings about it. Makes sense. A lot of people do what they do because of his character in that movie and all the characters in it.
If you've not read it, Sam's memoir is fantastic as well. There's a version of it out there in audiobook where he is the narrator. He reads his own memoir, and it's fantastic, really heartfelt. He has some great moments in it, and you hear a lot of his great stories from all these films, the ones we've mentioned, Event Horizon and Jurassic Park and Peaky Blinders and
Hunt for Red
Hunt for
October.
Red October and everything else that he ever filmed. Like, yeah, there's some really great moments. Jake, thanks. I just want to say thanks for joining us. I know you're pretty flat out with lots of discoveries coming, and we'll get back to those at a later date, but I appreciated your time to have a chat about Jurassic Park and Sam Neill.
No, look, I appreciate you guys asking me to jump on. I mean, to be asked to talk about Jurassic Park when there's so many people who love that movie, it means a lot. Yeah, it's just been great to just talk about something that a lot of us feel the same way, and it's nice. It's nice we're all on the same wavelength, and it's nice to be among people who also strangely have grieved a celebrity for maybe the first and only time. So yeah, no, I appreciate it a lot, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jake. I think, it's really important that we live by the values that Sam demonstrated, and I think this is a tremendous amount of emotional vulnerability, and I think it's really important and good for our younger listeners especially to see how something like this emotionally impacts us, that we are people, and that, there are so many of us that are inspired just the same way that the young listeners to this podcast and others like it could be looking to Sam Neill in the future, even if he's no longer with us. So I really appreciated getting to hear your thoughts.
Thanks again, guys.
Fossils.
Fossils.
Fossils
Fossils
in fiction.
fiction.